Hey YouTube land, this is Tychondrous again with another action figure review. Now before we proceed, these reviews are intended for collectors over the age of 13 plus, and as indicated by the box which we will look at in a minute, these figures are intended for collectors of 15 plus. So this is the Hiyatoys was Exquisite Minis, they're called. They're the 1/18 scale figures, and this is the Robocop ED or Enforcement Droid 209 review. Now, I'll get onto the review for the box right away because I want to go into the figure and a few things with the figure when I go onto it. So here is the awesome box. You have the Robocop logo. This indicates that it's from the first film because it doesn't have Robocop 2 or 3 on it. They may do a Robocop 3 version. I don't think there's really any difference between the animation that was used for Robocop 3. Top of the box, if I just rotate around, it's another image of the figure. It's pretty much images of the figure on both two sides of the box, and then on the back you have an image of Robocop walking through the OCP Plaza, or into the entrance for the OCP building, and then on the other side you have just images of the figure as well. What's interesting to note about the movie still, obviously for those who haven't seen the movie, this movie is nearly 30 years old, if I remember correctly, if not a long older. 1987, so it's quite an old movie. So if you haven't seen it by now, it's not really a spoiler, but the legs you see here are what remains of the ED-209. There's no upper section on it, but that's beside the point. On to the awesome figure itself. Now, before I proceed with this figure, let me just bring in this figure. And if you're wondering why I have two of the exact same figure, it's not quite exactly the same. Let me move the box out of the way and I shall explain. So I ordered this from Big Bad Toy Store. And when it arrived, it was really good, except I noticed one thing straight out of the box. And you may see it here. If I turn it this way a bit easier, you can see it's missing one of its dual guns from the left arm. So if I just move this one in, you can see there should be two of these machine guns on the left arm. It was completely missing that straight out of the box. I'm not sure if you can see it here. You can actually see where it should have been glued in place. Unfortunately, it was missing, so I had to get straight back onto Big Bad Toy Store, and they were kind enough to refund me for the one that was missing apart. And I just placed a new order for this one, which arrived recently. So I will get on to the review of technically this one. Now this one seems to have its own little issue, which I'll get into as well. It's not as big an issue as with the one missing the gun piece, but I'll just leave this one off to the side so I can show what I mean when I get to that part. So when you get this thing in the box, it's in a little plastic tray. There is a small plastic tab on the back here. See where this hole is? And that is because there's electronics in this. You have to pull that little clear plastic tab out, and then the electronics should work. And I'll just go through the electronics quickly. So there's a walking one as well. Maybe not. Maybe the walking was just on the neck up. No, there's the walking one. You can hear the walking sound effects. So there's a few sound effects from the movie. So it's pretty cool. Now, articulation is pretty interesting on this guy. So you have a rotation here at the leg. You have a rotation here at the hip. These pieces do go up and down, just like in the movie. the legs kind of tilt forward and back. They don't have great range of movement. Now, as I said, on this one, I'm not sure if you can see it here, but these feet are designed so that they can go up really close to the front. On this right leg on my one, it doesn't seem to go all the way up. It's like as if it's not fully seated into the ball joint under the thing. So I'm going to see if I can heat it up a little and maybe push it in. It might be just a case that it's not seated properly, but there is that. So it does have that articulation point. There's no side to side on the feet. You have a swivel that is hindered by the way it's sculpted, but you get left and right kind of swivel, which is pretty much all you really need on this. There's a hinge with the legs, as I said. The flaps here flip up and can give you good range of movement at the arms. The arms are on a swivel at the joint here, and then there's an elbow joint, and then there's a swivel where the what you would call the wrist, I would imagine. And then you have the same thing on the other side. Now, unlike the actual, does this move again? If I remember correctly, I don't think it moves. Unlike the NECA one, this rocket piece at the side, I don't believe it moves out and up to clear the side. It's in behind this and it stays in behind this, but you have like wiring and cabling, so you need to be careful of that as well. Just get the arms back into a neutral position, and I will bring in a Robocop for him to face off against. So here is one of the Hiyatoys Robocops. This is the one from, I think it's actually Robocop from Robocop 2. It's actually Robocop from Robocop 2, the one that came with the brain in a jar. I didn't pick up the Robocop 1 version because he's pretty much the same figure. I opted to get number 2 first because it has the brain piece, and I got the battle damaged versions then from 3. Their paint apps are slightly different. So if I just bring in, this is the Kick Me one from Robocop 2, and it has a slightly more bluish than purple shine to him. Someone did ask me if there was a color kind of difference, and you can kind of see it on those ones. So there is that. But all in all, they're pretty much the same figure. Like sculpt wise, articulation wise, they're the same figure, just like the ED-209. So you can see how well he scales up to ED, which is pretty cool. And I'll just bring in my tape measure just so you can see the height is just around 5.5 inches to the tip of this black piece, I would imagine. I don't think it's quite the 6, it's just under the 6, so maybe 5 3/4, 5.5 inches, so it doesn't take up too much space. And then for a size comparison, if like me you still have the old Kenner ones, here it is next to the vintage Kenner one. So it's almost the same size. It's actually a little bit taller, but you can see the design aspect is pretty much the same. Although if I remember correctly, the Kenner one wasn't actually called the ED-209. I think it was called the ED-208 or 206 or something along those lines. I don't think they could get the right license for the 209 name, but it was still called ED. Now my one has a broken, this piece should be connected here with a post, but it's broken, so it just sits on it, but it doesn't really fall off unless you pull it off. But you can see the sides, like you can see the design is pretty much similar to these figures. And then for the last comparison, even though I haven't done a review of this thing, let me just grab it while it's off screen and bring that in. This is the NECA version of the same figure, and this one is also battery operated. If I find the button for it. As you can hear, it's way louder than the Hiyatoys one. I'm not sure why that is. It could be just where the speaker placement is, but the audio seems to be a hell of a lot louder. I think the speakers for these are in under here, or it's in here, I'm not too sure, but the audio does come out of there, whereas the audio comes out of the mouth on this one, or the mouth area on the NECA one. Now I haven't done a review of the NECA one, so I will eventually, but if I just bring it around quickly, I'll show. I mean, these rockets on the NECA one, if I remember correctly, doing it without breaking it, they pop out to the side. Remember, they're on a rail. Yeah, they pop out and kind of fold up so that you can actually get the clearance for the fire of the rocket like it does in the movie. As I said, I haven't seemed to have been able to do that with the Hiyatoys one. It doesn't seem to move, but I could be wrong. Well, I don't want to force it just in case it breaks. But it doesn't look like there's any kind of thing for it to travel on, to move out and up to the side, and it doesn't seem to actually move at all. So there is that. But sculpt wise, as you can see, they almost look identical sculpt wise. There's a little bit more detailing on the NECA, obviously because of the price point, and they generally actually have the same articulation, which is interesting enough. But overall, the Hiyatoys is really cool. If you're on a bit of a more budget and you can't afford the NECA one, then I do recommend picking up the Hiyatoys one. It is really good. Aside from the slight QC issue I had with mine, that's probably just mine. But hopefully, like going forward, they don't have as much any other issues with anyone else's ones. But if anyone out there who watches this video seems to have had something similar with their ones, chime in the comment section below. I'd be interested to hear if it was something like maybe a batch run kind of type thing that had that one issue where it was missing the cannon. Either way, I was just expecting them to send me a replacement cannon as opposed to the whole refunding and getting an entire new one. But overall, it's a really cool figure, and if you're a fan of the original Robocop, I do recommend picking it up. I do know that Hiyatoys are also doing Robocop figures from the reboot. They should be out now. I haven't gotten any of those yet, but once I do, I will review those. I do have a bunch of them on pre-order on Big Bad Toy Store as well, but they haven't come in yet so far for my pre-orders anyway. They might have come in for other people's, and so far mine hasn't come in. So there you go, guys. I hope you enjoyed this quick video review of the Hiyatoys Enforcement Droid 209 from the original Robocop 1987 movie. So, as I say in my videos, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Cheers.